That's an
Launching.
easy. Out of curiosity, can I borrow Nick? Can I get him to teach me electronics? I mean, would he
Do
let me pay him?
electronics.
Yeah. I mean,
What does
isn't
that
he
mean?
really good? Well, teach me how to do the phone and shit like that.
Teach you how to do the phone. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm not good with electronics. And so I was
Okay.
hoping that he could give me the basic electronic, go go from here to there.
Yeah, I'm sure if you ask him, he will be glad to help you.
Well, no, I'd be paying him, but I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm sure he'll even be more glad to help you.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna get started. Good morning. Welcome everybody. Let me put my view on speaker and start recording. All right, welcome. It is the second call of the new year. So far, I have been really good. I've done a lesson a day every single day for 3 days. This is usually good till about in the past, if I'm collecting evidence from the past, um, about April, and then I kind of start falling off, and I'll miss a lesson, then I'll miss another lesson, and then it's kind of like going to the gym. So yeah, of the 6 years that I've been studying A Course in Miracles and teaching it the last 4, I have yet to do a lesson a day for the whole year. So for those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, this is A Course in Miracles, this book. Lately, I have, probably this year, I have decided to bring more of the financial conversation into the course. Or maybe the course into financial conversations. So on Monday, I had a call. Every Monday night, I have a mastermind. And I had a friend, Jasmine, who was the guest speaker. And the main topic was on God. It was amazing. And so many people called me and was like, oh my God, like, oh my God. There's never a conversation about faith when it comes to investing and when it comes to conversations about money. It's like these two things are complete opposites. Kind of like what the course says, that the ego and the Holy Spirit, their teachings are complete opposites. So the entire book really is constantly telling us, hey, you only have there's only 2 choices that you ever are making, and it's between the 2 teachers that's in front of you. One you made up, and the other one is the Holy Spirit. So it's either the ego or the Holy Spirit. At any given point, how do you know which teacher you were listening to? Because sometimes the ego is pretty smart. The ego will pretend that it's doing some holy work or doing some good work, but really it's a mask for your projections of your own fear, your own insecurities, your own anxieties. And when you listen to the ego, the way that okay, with absolute certainty that, oh man, I was definitely following the teachings of the ego, is, do you feel conflicted afterwards? Are you less certain about the future or about who you are, about yourself? Are you less certain about your creator? Or is clarity out for you? Because the course says that even the smallest bit of doubt, if you have to question at all, it means that you are conflicted in the mind. You don't have absolute clarity. Anytime that you don't have absolute clarity is because somewhere along the way you've cut off your connection to the source, to the universal intelligence, to God. And so we talk about this book, right? There's a lot of teachings in here. And the workbook, well, first, the course is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the text. It's the theory, the text is the framework of the book. And then there is the workbook. The workbook is 365 lessons, really designed for you to do one lesson a day. And you don't have to, because, even time itself is of the ego. We'll talk about that later. And then the last part is the manual for teachers. The manual for teachers is really just questions that people will have, that students will have as you study the course. So for example, it starts by saying, who are God's teachers? And then who are their pupils? What are the levels of teaching? Like, these are the questions that come up. What are the characteristics of God's teachers? And what are the steps that it takes to get there? It's really, it makes a distinction about these is there is a phase, there's a development of trust. And you know what, maybe we can talk about that today too. So there's a moving towards of absolute deep trust. Anytime that we don't experience, or we experience some sort of conflict in our life, is because we don't have the certainty, we don't have the trust. Somewhere along the line, you trusted the wrong teacher. So it's about looking at your results in life, looking at your results right now, how you're feeling, using all the teaching devices that is available to you to show you which teacher that you listen to. And then you have an opportunity to choose again. And how do we know we have the opportunities to choose again? Is because when we get triggered about something, it means that I chose wrong the first time. That's why I lost my peace. And here we go again. The trigger came up again so that I can choose again. Right? It's just really always an opportunity when perceived correctly. And perception is really the topic of the course is always, are you in perception or are you in knowledge? Are you in the world that you created, or are you in heaven? So there's really only one reality, which is reality with a capital R. And then there is your reality that you created based on your limited time here. And then of all the things that, evidence that you've collected, stories that you took on as yours, that you've made as part of who you are, which is not wrong. It's just, it's not the truth, right? It's okay to be dreaming when you're sleeping, when you know that the dream is a dream. When you wake up knowing that, hey, I was dreaming, it's fine. But imagine if the way that we live in the world is basically like, I have a dream of my wife and I get into a fight, and then I wake up and then I fight with her about my dream. That's really how insane the ego says the course says we're always operating. So I'll read a little I'll read little parts today in this course, just to start the conversation, to see where we go with it. And really, we started last year in January reading one section per day, per call. And sometimes we won't even read one section, but we've made it in 1 year. In 2022, we made it from chapter 1 and the preface all the way to chapter 11. So we're trucking along. There's 31 chapters. So we'll see where we get to by the end of 2023. A lot of people, tell me, oh my God, you have really good vibes, or you have good energy, and you create a good space. And it's really because of my commitment to studying and reading the course every single day. I read some parts of it. Something in here will inspire me and remind me what it is that I'm doing here. Remind me that this, like, I have perceptions that aren't the truth. And that I am, because things are always my perception and they're not the truth, then my judgment is literally just a projection of my own ideas, and they're not the truth. So knowing that actually helps me step into this curiosity space. See, curiosity is the antidote to judgment. And we have an opportunity to recognize when perception is perception. And when we recognize that all of our own stuff is just a matter of interpretation, then the relationships that we build, we're more aware of ourselves rather than aware of other people, right? Because when we're in this place of judgment, really we're looking at all the things that are outside, and we judge this and we judge that, we judge how the government is, we judge how this person is showing up. And then because you judge others, the Course says that since there is no separation between you and your brothers and sisters, then you actually cannot escape the judgment yourself. And you will be afraid to show up. You will be afraid to speak. When you judge other people, it's a projection of your own perceived limitations. And when I say perceived limitations, it's because it's also not the truth. All of your limitations that you think you have are not the truth. And maybe for the next, maybe if it's just today or for the rest of the week, or maybe for 2023, make a commitment to yourself to recognize the words that you speak out of your mouth. An awareness to the limitations that I've created about the identity that is Alex. Every time that you can't do something and you make an excuse, think about that limitation. It's not the truth. You've gathered a bunch of evidence that is a whole bunch of fairy tale stories that sounded good because it supports the image of your identity, which is an idea. And the Course says the identity of yourself is an idea to be undone. So that we may actually, because the question that is worthy of asking of ourselves every day is who we are. Who are we? Who are we, and who is my creator? That's a worthy question to be pondering and reflecting on daily. Otherwise, everything else is about making the dream more real. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so the workbook itself, I wanted to get to this on, what day is it? Today's Wednesday, on Sunday. And I wanted to read the introduction of the workbook. All right, because sometimes it's hard for us to not judge. See, most people, when they start the lessons, they're like, well, lesson one, nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window in this place means anything. And then we're trying to make sense of it. We try to bring like our little like smartness into, oh yeah, I get this. It's about this, like I create the meaning to everything, and you try to sound smart to yourself. But it's really a gentle leading of you to letting go of your own mind and the own character that you've created for yourself. Okay, so the introduction. A theoretical foundation, such as the text, provides that the text provides, so it's the earlier section, the 31 chapters, is necessary as a framework to make the exercise in this book meaningful. Yet it is doing these exercises that will make the goal of the course possible. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. It is the purpose of this workbook to train your mind to think along the lines the text sets forth. The exercises are very simple. They do not require a great deal of time, and it does not matter where you do them. They need no preparation. The training period is 1 year. The exercises are numbered from 1 to 365. Do not undertake to do more than one set of exercises per day. The workbook is divided into two main sections. The first dealing with the undoing of the ways that you see now, and the second with the acquisition. Oh, I love that I use that word, the acquisition of true perception. With the exception of review periods, each day's exercises are planned around one central idea, which is stated first. This is followed by a description of a specific procedure by which the idea for the day is applied. The purpose of the workbook is to train your mind in a systematic mind to a different perception of everyone and everything in the world. The exercises are planned to help you generalize the lessons so that you will understand that each one of them is equally applicable to everyone and everything that you see. Transfer of training in true process does not proceed as does the transfer of the training in the world. If true perception has been achieved in connection with any person, situation, or event, total transfer to everyone and everything is certain. On the other hand, one exception held apart from the true perception makes the accomplishment everywhere, anywhere impossible. So think about, for us, we're like, yeah, we want to make I want to forgive and I want to love more this year. I want to show more love. I want to be more gentle and more kind to people. I want to do more good things in this world. Oh, but except this one thing, right? This is right here. The Course says that if you can apply healing and forgiveness to one person, you can apply to everything and everyone, always and always. But if you do one exception, if you create one exception to love, to forgiveness, to gentleness, to kindness, to empathy, if you create one exception, then the entire course, the entire forgiveness and everything that you intended to create will not happen. So if you say, I'm going to forgive, I'm going to be so forgiving this, I'm going to forgive all the people that I think has wronged me. Not my father, not what he did, or not this person, not what he did. You make one exception and the remembrance of heaven escapes you. See, again, it's super simple because in life, in this dream world, you're always choosing one reality over the other. The vision of one world costs you the vision of the other. It's either you see heaven and there is only heaven, or you try to make an exception and the only thing you see is hell. Go ahead, Marlene. Ask your question.
Yes, good morning and Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year's.
Well, you just said hit home, but what if you just don't feel it? Like, what if you're faking forgiveness?
Yeah.
To do that?
Good question. So the way to tell whether you have, because we've been going through this world for so long. We've collected stories for so long. We've listened to the ego for so long that maybe we're being tricked by the ego. Right? The ego, you know what? There's a good section about it, but you'll know based on your feelings. See, the purpose of the body as a learning tool, and it's also going to help you when you are in tune with your body, that when you are in conflict or you're not at peace, you will feel it. You'll feel it in how anxious you are. You'll feel it in the level of peace that you feel in this moment. Like, was I honest with myself? If I truly wanted to look, and all I have to do is ask the question and it shall be answered. But if we block it, if we want to rationalize it and give excuses for not extending love only, then you will feel it. You'll feel it also in the relationship. Because sometimes the ego will be so smart. The ego will be like, no, it's not me. This is not any of my own stuff. It's theirs. We just got into a screaming match, but I'm totally cool with it. No, because if you participated in conflict, it means you're also in conflict. And so that is the ego's denial sometimes, is because you're always exempt. See, how the ego works is it projects its own fears, it projects anxiety, and it judges all onto others. It exempts you of everything, and then you become a victim to your own to your own projections. You project it onto somebody, and then you become a victim of that projection in which you made. It's madness if you really look at it from a distance. Like, this doesn't even add up. The ego is so insane, and so are we for believing in the ego, that when we actually take a step back and look at the way we operate, nothing even makes sense. Right? I want to be abundant in my life. I want to be loving, and I speak all these things that I want to do, and then the thoughts and the actions that follow are not even in alignment to it. I want to be abundant with my money and my time, but yet I hoard on to both of it. And I always tell the story that I don't have enough of it. It's, do you really want it, or do you want to be right about your scarcity thoughts? Right? That's really the questions. And then we look back at ourselves. We see everything as a mirror, everything as an opportunity to learn so that we can choose again. Rather than speaking the words to justify your inadequacies, and I put quotation inadequacies because they're not real. You've made them up, so they're real to you, but they're not real. So we're going to go into chapter 11. Continue trucking along in this book. And we are on section we are on section 7, chapter 11. Chapter 11 is called God or the Ego. So this is the condition of reality. So there are conditions that you have to meet in order for you to see heaven here, see heaven on earth. There are conditions you have to meet to arrive at heaven's gates. See, the Course says you can meet all the prerequisites. You can get there. But God takes the last step. God decides when the gates open. And here we go. And until every single one of your brothers returns to what the Course says that it's called the sonship, when everyone comes to the awakening moment, then the one mind returns, the collective mind returns, and the mind is ready to wake up back into heaven. And so last night we were telling this story on one of my mentorship calls of the 100 monkeys. Okay, and it's a quick, long story short. Oh, yeah. Long story short, basically there is, these this Japanese scientists studying these monkeys on an island, and the story goes that they love sweet potatoes, but they're really afraid of the ocean, the water. So what they do is they gather it. Sweet potatoes get real dirty, so they all put it somewhere, wait for the rain to come down so it cleans it up so they can eat it. And one monkey learned that she can take the sweet potatoes and go down to the ocean during the low tide, so it's not that dangerous, and she can wash her sweet potato and eat it. And she's like, oh my God, look at what I discovered. Goes back to the elders on the island, the other monkeys, and they shun her. Like, what a great idea. But because it challenges the fears that they've collectively created, this monkey named Emo was shunned. But she was like, you know what? I'm gonna still play my part. And every new monkey that was born on that island, she would take the little baby monkey down to the water so they can yes. So there's probably a lot of stories like it. It's a story of critical mass, right? And so she would take every monkey down to the ocean, and they would learn to wash the sweet potatoes and eat it. Now, after a while of them observing this happening, one day Emo disappeared. So they think she passed away. But the new babies that were born automatically went down to the water to clean the sweet potatoes. They no longer had this fear of the water as soon as they were born. And they when they did the studies, when they were kind of counting how many times this happened, it was around the 100th monkey, the 100th baby that was born. And the math was that it's about 2% of the population of the monkeys that were on that island. When that happened, it hit so the interesting thing is, see, the fear that came from the previous generation started to disappear. Just like the new generation, that every generation of, Gen Z, whatever, the millennials, like there is a generation that project a certain idea of this world. And then the next generation comes and challenges it. And it's just like this never ending cycle. Now, the end of that story is not only did all the monkeys lose their fear of the water and the ocean, and they started to go and wash their sweet potatoes that way, all the surrounding islands, the monkeys also started to do the same. And and there was no contact between the two islands. So the story is that when the collective idea, when 2% of the population adapts a new idea, collectively it hits this critical mass and it changes the direction and the trajectory of the entire population. Everybody believes in it. Now, there are so many things that we can probably think of in our life now that we just adapt as like, oh, well, this is the new truth. It becomes accepted by the entire population. There are definitely things, and I can't really think of one right now, but probably, I don't know, Amazon could be one of those. The idea of of lag time. I think back, I was just actually telling this story last night to my friends of when the internet wasn't really that popular, like you had to dial up, so it was hard to like actually ship all these things. It wasn't just boxes flying across the US, 50 million boxes just bumping into each other the whole time. When it wasn't that, you go to a store, you buy something, they can charge whatever they want. But now, because of information and how fast you can get things around the world, it's like around the world, everybody knows the price of certain things, right? We're starting to become one-minded about how much, I don't know, a book should cost, how much this watch should cost. See, before the information was available to everyone, people could sell anything to anybody based on their own, how much they believe in it. Right? I have this watch and I can sell it for, $10,000. I can sell it for $30,000. Just depends on how I wanted to sell it. And I can make all the commission on it. But now everybody can just go online and look at it. See, we adopted in the beginning when internet first came out, there was probably a whole ton of resistance. Any new idea that comes out, every generation comes in and says the next generation is screwed because they got a new set of ideas. It's like, oh, that's it. These kids are born with an iPad on their face, in front of them, born with the internet, the generation's screwed. Nobody's saving money. Nobody's this and that. And they're screwed. Every generation says that about the next one. Because there's that, like, I won't let go of what I see the world and what I believe to be true already. So yeah, I'll take a pause right there. So yeah, okay. Well, the point of that story is that we created we're creating a community called the Legends Community. And the goal is to hit 160 million members, because that is 2% of 8 billion, the population in the world. So that is, you know, in this training, that the personal development training that I was part of, we always talked about creating the 2% of just being in this space of love and self-awareness, and, you know, all the teachings of the personal development program. And I've carried it on. I've carried the teachings and the ways of being of that program to this community that I'm also co-creating. So 160 million. And the more that I say it, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but the more that I say it, the more it'll become real for me. And the more people will hold me accountable to it and will remember and join the vision. And yeah. So the entire vision rests on that abundance is real and we can create it. How does a community work in a way that is not one direction, right? Most communities that you're a part of, it's like it goes in one direction. And as much as I love the 10X community and what Grant Cardone has created, the entire thing is funneled one way, right? It's all about courses you buy, all the money goes one way. There's no doing deals together, things like that, right? With Grant, basically. Now you have an opportunity to, but has he even done one? I don't, you know, I don't think so. Not with any students, not with anybody in the club, at least. So can we create a community in which abundance is circled? Like, can you be invested into a community where through collaboration and team and real estate, that 160 million people can all invest their money and still and get it back? And that's what we do it through multifamily investing. Because it creates a sustainable way of building a community financially. And if we can create that financially with unlimited amount of people, then there's going to be a shift. There's going to be a shift of the idea that when I give, I have less and they have more. See, that's the idea that I want to challenge in what I'm creating here, is that when I give, if there's a way in my mind to think that every time I give, both parties gets more, that includes money and time, that's the shift that I want to make, that I want to impact the world with. And that's what the course teaches. You either believe that you're in one world, the physical world, where I give you something and physical exchange is happening. I now don't have it and you have it. See, we end up exchanging energies that way, and energies don't work that way. Energies work in a different way. I give this to you and all of a sudden both sides increase. Like, that doesn't really compute in our minds. And this is why we hoard money and we're so scarce about money. And then we do the same thing with our time and with love. We make everything that is spiritual and energetic, we make it more like the physical. We make it more like the physical dollars and the physical material things that we're exchanging in this world. And the goal is to bring it the other way. We make the exchange that is physical more like the way that love and energy operates. If I give you more money, if I give you $100, can I, in my mind, see that it's both sides are $100 value-wise increased? And if we start to see that way, then our relationships at home, our relationships with people, every time I give love, I'm not giving love with a string attached to it and asking for love in return. Like, I give you love. Okay, I gave you love. Now it's your time to give me love. Oh, I just showed you love here. And that's what we settle for relationships. And then we use some spiritual words out there like emptying. My tank is empty. Your tank is empty because you think that you can give without receiving at the same time. Your giving is messed up. The way in which you give needs to shift. Because if giving and receiving is always happening at the same time, how can your tank ever be empty? So if you ever say the words that my tank is empty and I just feel like energy's been sucked out of me, it's because you are giving in the wrong way. You are not truly giving. You're giving and waiting for a receiving. So you're really just dangling this thing that you're giving. Because at some point, hey, I did that for you. Now you do for me. Hey, come on. This is how we do relationships. If every single argument and fight, your fights out there that you've ever had is not that one problem, well, it is always that one problem. There's only one problem. And the Course says that one problem is there's already an answer, and that problem doesn't even exist because you made it up in your mind because you perceived giving and receiving wrongly. And this is why so many people that are wealthy and successful, they talk about how many people can you serve? If you want to make it, if you want to become successful, wealthy, you got to serve more people. Amazon serves a whole ton of people. So you serve more people. Like, why does that work? Like, people don't really have a scientific formula for why it works, but that's because you have to step into this realm of giving and receiving that lies on faith. It sits on faith. It sits on your faith that as I give, I've already received. And I don't know when it's going to come. And the way in which I give, I don't know when it will be received. I can give you something and it looks like you're totally ungrateful. You totally don't acknowledge it at all. Here you go. Take it. Take it. It's not up to me to perceive it, like how you will. Yeah. And we look for evidence of why love works. Well, it just works. Because evidence, if we take evidence of the world, this is the problem. We try to, somebody says there's a law that covers this exact thing. So yes, it very well could. But if we take anything from this world to justify reality, to justify heaven, it will not work because everything is separate. If we look for evidence in this world, all we're going to do is make this world more real. We will make attack more real. We will make, all of our insecurities and anxieties and everything more real. Because you're looking for evidence inside this world, which everything is upside down of heaven. So you can't look for justifications and look for evidence here about the way in which love works. It just requires you to adapt it and have faith about it. Okay, so I'll read this section and then I'll open it up for some questions. Oh, wow, look at that. I wasn't even recording on my phone. Well, welcome, everybody. We already went through the 42 minutes of the course. And sorry, I thought I was live. I didn't click the live button. But we're talking about the two worlds of heaven and of hell, really. And how you cannot find evidence in this world to justify heaven. And you can't take heaven and justify the things of this world because they're complete opposites. The vision of one costs the vision of the other. So now what is the condition of seeing heaven now? That's what we're going to talk about right here, right now. Chapter 11, section 7. As I read here, the invitation is for you to let any judgments go. There is no need to understand or try to understand what it is that I'm reading. The invitation is to keep your heart and your mind open. That I'm not, oh yeah, I understand this. Oh, it compares to this. Okay, let's bring that together. All this trying to understand actually gets in the way of understanding. Knowledge just is. And you are part of that knowledge and that knowing. There is nothing that we can possibly talk about ever that you don't already know deep inside. So there's nothing that you have to seek for. There is no need to find evidence for what I'm about to read. Simply allow these words to enter. Keep your mind and your heart open. And whatever thoughts come to you, just let them be. Be the witness of everything that is going to happen in the next 10 minutes. All right, cool. So section 7, chapter 11. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. The world as you perceive it cannot have been created by the Father, for the world is not as you see it. Oops. God created only the eternal, and everything you see is perishable. Therefore, there must be another world that you do not see. The Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth. Yet this cannot be literally true, for the eternal are not recreated. To perceive anew is merely to perceive again, implying that before or in the interval between, you were not perceiving at all. What then is the world that awaits your perception when you see it? Okay, so the course is not challenging the Bible, it's just shifting our perception about it, in which sometimes we can see it incorrectly. We can perceive it incorrectly because we are trying to look at faith and trying to look at heaven through the evidence of the dream. When you think about it, when you're dreaming at night, a lot of the stuff that happens doesn't even make any sense. But imagine trying to understand the world when we wake up through the dream world, where things just are mad. This doesn't even make sense. Right? I mean, I've had some crazy dreams that just like led one thing to another that I don't even know if it doesn't even make any chronological order sense, like here, right? So every loving thought that the Son of God ever had is eternal. The loving thoughts his mind perceives in this world are the world's only reality. They are still perceptions, because he still believes that he is separate. Yet they are eternal because they are loving. And being loving, they are like the Father and therefore cannot die. The real world can actually be perceived. All that is necessary is a willingness to perceive nothing else. For if you perceive both good and evil, you are accepting the false and the true and making no distinctions between them. The ego may see some good, but never only good. That is why its perceptions are so variable. It does not reject goodness entirely, for you cannot accept. For that you could not accept. But it always adds something that is not real to the real, thus confusing illusion and reality. For perceptions cannot be partly true. If you believe in truth and illusion, you cannot tell which is true. To establish your personal autonomy, you tried to create unlike your Father, believing that what you made is capable of being unlike him. Yet everything true is like him. Perceiving only the real world will lead you to the real heaven, because it will make you capable of understanding it. The perception of goodness is not knowledge, but the denial of the opposite of goodness enables you to recognize a condition in which opposites do not exist. And this is the condition of knowledge. Without this awareness, you have not met its conditions, and until you do, you will not know it is yours already. You have made many ideas that you have placed between yourself and your Creator, and these beliefs are the world as you perceive it. Truth is not absent here, but it is obscured. You do not know the difference between what you have made and what God created. And so you do not know the difference between what you have made and what you have created. To believe that you can perceive the real world is to believe that you can know yourself. You can know God because it is his will to be known. The real world is all that the Holy Spirit has saved for you of what you have made, and to perceive only this is salvation, because it is the recognition that reality is only what is true. So, yeah, this section is speaking about love. All loving thoughts are true because it is eternal. Think about anything that ever happened to you. All healing is the release of the fear, of the stories that you made up of it, and it returns to acceptance. It returns to love. Everything eventually returns to love. That means love must always have been here anyways. Your perception of the world caused you to see something else other than love that is happening. And when I say only love exists, and you look for evidence of that in this world, in this dream world, you will not find it. Because what you're going to see is you will look on the news and you will find all the evidence against love. You will find in your relationships that there's separate selves, that there is separation between you and others. And anytime that you perceive separation, fear will come. The ego will enter. Doubts will come. Uncertainty will come. And if you experience any of that in your own life right now, it's because you have a disconnection to your Father, to the Creator. So I'll take a moment here to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to share anything. Unmuted myself, or muted.
So I was just re-listening to Inside Out, the Inside Out Revolution, and it's so interesting how all of these teachings are all connected to each other. The thing that, because I was like going through something where, and I needed it, and he was like, well, if you're having negative feelings, that's an indication that you're stepping out of the flow of like spirit, I guess would be the terminology. And if you're having good positive feelings, that's a sign for you that your thoughts are like taking you where is like a good place for you. And it's like a thermostat where you can like tune in and see where you're going and how you're feeling. So I thought that was it tied in. It's like, what am I feeling right now? Where is this going? That was basically it. When you were talking, I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, letting that come through. Like our feelings, our feelings are indicators. Like we are so disconnected from our own feelings in our own bodies. Like, what does it represent? We think that when we have things come up for our bodies, it's just, oh yeah, it's just stress. Oh yeah, it's just this. Like we just throw it and we write it off without actually looking at what it means. Like if you pay close enough attention, and I say this all the time, when I look at a real estate deal, when I know, like as soon, because I've seen it so much, because I practiced it so much, finding good deals, that as soon as I see one, a feeling comes over my body and I trust it because I've learned to use this tool. Your body is just a tool. See, the course says that there's a first and final lesson that you got to learn, is that you are not your body. Your body is a learning device. At some point, the body will be laid down to rest. But who am I? Like if you think about yourself, there is a consciousness that is experiencing this body, experiencing the things in this world, experiencing how the body's reacting. And the course says that your body is still outside of yourself. When we say create separation, you will see that your body is actually outside of the mind. Let's call it the mind, capital M, the collective mind. When you die, where does the mind go? Where does this like experience of life, where does this consciousness go? It can't just be the body. Like when it dies, like if the brain turns off, like is the mind just gone? Is this like witness of this body just gone, how do you find the mind? Is it in the brain? If you open up the brain, do you find the mind? So it's about coming to every one of us, and Michael Singer puts this perfectly, is that in the surrender experiment, your entire life is a preparation for your last breath. That's it. Your entire life, everything that you can possibly go through is a preparation for your last breath, to the ultimate surrender that I am not my body. At some point, whether you can believe it now or you can believe it later, it doesn't matter. Some point, you will surrender to the fact that you are not your body, and you will leave it. And it's cool. It's fine. That's why this entire experience of the body, everything that you've experienced in your life up to this point, all of us experienced it through the body, through the sensations that we feel, the freedom that we feel. It's all like this experience of the body. Now, the only thing that is not experienced really through the body in the mind is when we have those moments of clarity, absolute certainty about this relationship, absolute certainty about the deal, absolute certainty that this feeling in this body represents I should either go away from it or go closer to it. Should I lean into it? It's a constant teaching device. The body will show you before you even know. It's got a brain of its own, right? Science actually says that your stomach or somewhere in your stomach is actually the second brain or the first brain, one or the other. Like it knows better than the actual thinking brain. Go ahead, Marlene.
Alex, that takes me back to my initial question, I guess. When your whole body, it's like, you just know, like this person or this situation is not good for you. But then I have, of course, a whole life of Catholic teaching telling me I must forgive, I must put my other cheek, right? So how do you marry the two? It's not holding, how do you say that, grudge? Or like resentment, is just knowing this is not good for me. How do you go about that if your body is telling you no? Like, do you listen to it? How do you do that? Because it's, and just the holidays finishing right now, of course, we have sometimes to see family members that are not necessarily, they don't put a smile on my face, on my heart. That is the most important part, I guess. So how do you marry those two?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that you have not yet gotten to that point of forgiveness because you think that forgiveness is for them. They don't deserve it. They shouldn't be forgiven. You think that the forgiveness is for them, but it's not. It's for both of you. Like you have put this person in a prison cell and you're sitting outside guarding the cell. So who's really in prison? Like that's when you don't forgive, that's exactly what's happening. You're not free and neither is this person. And all it does is continue to create conflict. Now, because you've made up that attack happened, that somehow you were attacked, somehow you were wronged. There is a section, there's a lesson in the course that, and I think we were getting to it last week, is that love holds no grievances. So when you're saying about holding a grudge and holding grievances, love holds no grievances. And I guess I'll just read this section also, because I think it's going to support. And this is actually one of the lessons. So it's lesson 68. We'll get to it on the 8th day of March or the 7th day of March, whenever. But I'll read it right now anyways. Love holds no grievances. You who were created by love, like itself, can hold no grievances and know yourself. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let the ego rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike him. It makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become, for no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself. So when you judge others and you condemn others and you hold this grievance, you believe that God is like you and you will be judged and others will be judged the way that you judge them. See, it's not a conversation of forgiving this person anymore. It's not a conversation of that. It's a conversation that you now have a distortion of your creator, of your father. We make him like us rather than the other way around. That's why, you know, a lot of religious institutions and a lot of teachings have been mistaken because we use fear, because we're so fearful. See, because we have fear, so we use fear to try to conquer others. And so the Course is pointing and is always telling you, hey, look, do you want more conflict? You can keep going down this path, no problem. There is no point in which you can't just go like boom and then give your belief and your faith in the Holy Spirit and it will all be fixed just like that. There is no too far down the tunnel that you can go that you can't just hand it to the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit just judges it for you and takes care of it. See, we have our own things. We're like, well, I can't forgive this because this is big. I could forgive this little thing because it's nothing. I got cut off while I'm driving. It's nothing, I forgive. Oh, but not this person. This person said this to me when I was young, and now my whole life is ruined because I've been thinking about what they said to me. I mean, what? Like, you carried it yourself. You sat outside that jail cell. You took that idea and you made it the truth when it wasn't. So you think that it's big because you've attached your whole life story to this one event. Or there's actions that you've taken that you think you've gone too far and you can't change. How do I fix it? Yeah, it's big for you because you caused this whole big thing, but you give it to the Holy Spirit. And the way that I see it is this: no miracles. And the Course says that all miracles are maximum love of maximum extensions of love. There is no small love. There is no, like, when you access forgiveness on anything, you're able to see it in all because there is no size. Size of it is only your own judgment. I can forgive this person and not this person. See, that requires your judgment in the middle. Anything given to the Holy Spirit, it's kind of like taking a freaking bus and my cell phone and bringing it up to space where there is no gravity. Easily lifted, both weigh the same. Judgment is like gravity on this planet. And we decide, and we're like, oh, this bus is bigger, it's heavier, it's harder to move. I can't let this thing go. I could let this go, but not this. There's your exceptions. We started this call talking about exceptions. You make exceptions and all of heaven will be lost to you, will be obscured. Go ahead, Joey.
Thank you, by the
There
way.
you go. You gotta unmute. You're probably dropping some good wisdom right now. There you go.
There we go. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Hi.
Hey.
Imagine if, as a Catholic, you went to your priest and you confessed your sins, and the priest said, yep, that's the line. Sorry, not today. You don't get forgiveness. You know, imagine if that happened. You know, I mean, imagine if Holy Spirit said, you know what, not today. You know, I'm going to stop loving today. And for me, that was, you know, thinking about, you know, in Catholicism, the priest is the representative of God's love and is kind of an intermediary. So, you know, we have to put ourselves in that role. You know, imagine if I was a priest and somebody came to me and said, you know, I did this and I think I did wrong. Now I have Holy Spirit in me. I know that nobody did anything wrong. But am I going to withhold that? Like, no, that's not a thing. I'm not going to withhold God's love. And similarly, this has been a great conversation for me, because I see when I hold grudges, I'm withholding God's love and withholding spirit and withholding everything that's out there. And spirit never does that to me. That's the beauty part that I've noticed. Never, ever, 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 ever have I said, okay, fine, I'm going to open my heart to spirit, and there's even a half a second of hesitation. I mean, it's instant. I am the only person withholding God's love. I'm the only person pushing it back. And once I realize that it's just up to me to let more and more and more in, life becomes better. You know, you spoke before of knowledge versus perception, you know, and then you brought Mickey Singer into it. Mickey Singer's great because it's like, you know, you just got to remain an empty vessel. You know, you're driving down the road. There's a tree, there's 1,000 trees. Like, you got to just enjoy them for as beautiful as they are and just let them pass by, you know? And I've been doing that more and more. Just, I'm in Chicago and I'm getting tagged by the mask thing, where people are wearing pieces of paper on their face and they think it's going to protect them. And I've been chuckling on the inside because I've been going back to reading the Bible. And I always thought it was funny that Pharisees wore pieces of paper on their head to show how virtuous they were. And I was like, that would never happen. People wouldn't just walk around with pieces of paper on their head to show how virtuous they are. But here I am in Chicago, and there's like young, healthy people walking around with a piece of paper on their face. Like, it doesn't do anything, but they think it does. So I guess it does for them. And I see that, and I see them volunteering for that. And then I see the women of Iran struggling to get this stuff off of their heads and off of their faces and breathe freely and express their rights. And then I come here and everyone's like, hey, take my rights, take my rights, take my rights. So I'm just noticing on what rubs me and where I withhold love, and it's always on the inside. There's no hiding forgiveness. You know, I can't fake it. I either love somebody or I'm challenged by them. And I've been speaking up to the challenge because I want to be loving more. You know, I am a member of the 2%. I am the change I want to see in the world. And I get to lead with love and not be afraid of that. So thank you for giving me a platform. Thank you for showing up with consistency, Mr. Lovely Wang. I love you and appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that share. And yeah, you know, it's super important to notice where our judgments come in. Right? Like judgments is literally, you know, do I create more love in the world? And it's important to notice that, like, we judge all sorts of things. Things rub us the wrong way. Like, we create stories like taking this paper off my face equals freedom. That's not even the truth. That's just your own perception, right? Or if putting it on is freedom. Like, we have all this notion of what we think the world should be. And I see this all the time. And like, we get super upset over, let's say, I don't know, like murders and like shootings, things like that. But we could care less about when lions take down zebras. We're like, oh yeah, let's film it. That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so great to watch. You know, and then shootings, what's the difference though? Right? Well, what's the difference in what's happening? Like, maybe we should stop it. Maybe we should stop lions from going after zebras. It's messed up, right? Or what's this? What about, you know, we're so righteous about that, and then we allow the slaughter, the massive slaughter of, like, let's grow animals, let's produce them and then just slaughter them. And then there's like delicacies. It's just like, some of this is insane to me. And it's my own insanity though, that I see that is insane. Like, let's slowly kill an animal and it makes it more of a delicacy. Like, what? Some of this stuff is see, to me, because I don't eat meat, my practice is letting go of the judgment of my own projections of what I think should and shouldn't happen. And so just like Joey brought that up about the mask, I'm bringing it up about, eating meat. It's our own stuff. None of this is the truth. Just because you eat animals or you don't eat animals doesn't make you more loving or less loving. You are the whole thing is that you are love and you are forgiven and you are sinless no matter what you do, because all of this is happening in the dream. And not to say just go out and cause destruction like it doesn't matter. But you decide if you want to live a nightmare or if you want to live a happy dream. Madison, go ahead, brother.
Thanks, Alex. I was just thinking about that analogy of keeping somebody in the prison. I have a personal anecdote about that. When I was in the military, I was called in the first sergeant's office for some, in front of my superiors and stuff, and was being reprimanded. And that was all fine and good. I made my choices. And, you served me my paperwork, served me my punishment, but I had to stand there while this man spoke ill of my character in a very egregious and out of line way. And it affected me, and it still affected me to this day. Like up to this day, I have still felt that if I ever ran into him on the street, I'd make him sorry for what he did, for what he said to me, because he should be. I guarantee you that man doesn't remember me. He doesn't remember that moment. It's vivid in my mind. But if he saw me, talk to me, he wouldn't know. He wouldn't remember, wouldn't care. So I've been keeping myself in prison, holding on to this grudge for all these years. And I could feel it. It's still just affecting me so much. So I need to be able to let that go. So I thank you for that example.
Yeah. Like I was saying when Marlene asked, is forgiveness is not for them. We think it's for them and they don't deserve it. And that's why we don't forgive. It ain't for them, it's for you. It's for you, that with a capital Y. That means you, as in the collective you, as in all of humanity. The awakening of the dream depends on your forgiveness right there. The world that you see is not loving because you are not forgiving. So yes, you are the only one withholding God's love. You've created a different court, a lower court for yourself, for how you're going to judge others, and everyone is always guilty. See, in the higher court, when the Holy Spirit is there, it's automatic that the case gets thrown out, no matter how much the ego prepares for the defense. In your court that you've made up, that the ego made up, everyone is always guilty, and you are an exception. But the thing is, any attack on any level that happens, you cannot escape it yourself. Go ahead, Shiva. Shiva, Shambho.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, so everything everyone shared, and just I was just thinking, it's all related. Eric Butterworth has this quote where he's like, everything that you see and experience in life doesn't have anything to do with the outside world. It's all about your inside world. It's like where we are at in our consciousness is what we will see. And just to circle back to the last thing I said, it's like how we're feeling is an indication of whether we're in our nature or not. So if we're having these thoughts of aggression, does that make us feel good in the long run or bad in the long run? What are the feelings? And that's an indicator. And then with not eating meat thing, I totally resonate with that because I don't eat meat, as you know. And I also think it's funny with the mask thing, but does it really matter at the bigger level of the thing? And I always think about that. And so interesting, the Tao Te Ching verse that I was starting my day with is inner strength is the master of all frivolities. Tranquility is the master of all agitated emotions. Those who succumb to frivolities have lost their inner strength. Those who succumb to agitated emotions have lost their tranquility. The wise cultivate inner strength and tranquility. they're not seduced by addictive temptations. And it seems like, yeah, that's an addictive temptation. Some of these things, like I want to be in control and like I know how things should be, and like it's not like that. Like it's probably just a frivolity that's taking away my peace and taking me away from who I actually am. And
Yeah,
I'm
well, yeah. So you know, it's just because you just because something is lost does not mean that it isn't there. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. Right. So what, you know, the whole something being lost to you, this animal is for eating, this one's for petting. Yeah, true. You know, and so it's not that it's lost to you. It's just that in this moment, you've chosen incorrectly. And the only reason for choosing incorrectly, or that matters, is that you lose your peace of mind. You get into conflicts. Peace is the prerequisite to heaven. So peace of mind, can I be at peace, or am I going to be in conflict? And so throughout the day, you can look at, what am I in conflict with? Am I in conflict with masks? Am I in conflict with animals and this and what people do to animals? Am I in conflict with how people treat this planet? Like, how much attack and judgment can I be possibly, you know, can I bring awareness to of myself throughout the day? So everything that you judge of outside, and then everything that you judge of yourself, see all those limiting beliefs. This is what I'm saying, is becoming aware of those things so that you can see what's real. Even if it's a glimpse, if you get a glimpse of the light that you are, it is enough to carry you for the rest of your life. Like, well, you just need one moment of clarity of who you are as the innocent, sinless child of God. If you have one moment of that, the spark is recognized. The Course says that most of us have gone through this dream world for so long and been enrolled this dream world for so long that our light, the great ray that is beaming through us, is so dimmed. And it's only dimmed because you don't perceive it. And the way to relight it, the way to reignite it in your mind and for you to see it, is for you to see the light in those things in which you see darkness in. Is to shift the perception. If you have a perception of darkness in somebody, choose to see the light. The Course says, choose to see the Christ consciousness that is of your brothers and sisters. This is why we use how to use your relationships properly, is that there is no separation between us. So as I see the light in you, I see it in me, especially the people that I can't forgive, because there is a darkness and a wrong that is inside me that I've projected onto you. And those people that trigger you the most, they are your greatest teachers in this moment. And if you can right that perception, that gratitude comes through. And this is why gratitude is so important, because gratitude for those that you think hurt you, that you couldn't forgive, you went from unable to forgive, like they hurt me, to a gratitude, to a forgiveness. That shift itself will help you see the light in yourself. Because the only reason you judge them is because it's in you. This insecurity is in you. This ability, this lack is inside you. And you've perceived yourself incorrectly. And that's why you're triggered by this other person. So now you, in order to reverse that whole thing, you got to see the light in this person that you're triggered by. Thank you. Thank you for the amazing lesson. Instead of focusing on the doing of what they did to you, wow, you're just such a great teacher. Constantly, for the last 20 years of my life, I haven't been able to forgive you. You are literally next to me, going down this path of awakening with me all this time. As a brother or a sister that's just been shining a light for me. Like, hello, here's where you lose your peace. Here's where you can't forgive. Here's where the lack of love is. Just shining that for you. And we don't perceive it that way because we think forgiveness is like they don't deserve it. You deserve it. It's time for you to look at that lesson and that opportunity as a gift from God, that this person that you thought wronged you is a gift from God. And now when you have the right perception, you see love starts to fill that space. That level of forgiveness brings an experience of love. Your entire world that you've created about you and this person shatters, and you realize, man, that was just such an illusion. I was so obscured between illusions and truth that I couldn't even tell what was happening here. And when you right that relationship, see, the world does not need to change. This person does not need to change. Your perception of it needs to change. And when it changes, it's like, oh my God, this was so loving all this time. The person that I couldn't forgive all this time was just, it was the biggest love ever. That's a possibility. Now, which story are you going to tell more of? Your story that you've been living with all this time that you couldn't forgive, or you want this new story? Yeah, Pono. Liba.
Hey, what's up? I'll put the video back on. I have bad service, so I keep dropping it, the call. But first of all, I love this. I love that I made it here. Hi, Alex, you're awesome. And I love what everyone's sharing. I wanted to add something also that I learned recently from Tony Robbins, and he calls it effective blaming, where basically the people that you quote unquote blame in your life for like not showing up, or someone that hurt you, either that you had judgment on, or someone that wasn't there for you in the times that you needed, but it made you the person that you are today. Because a lot of times we learn that had we had what we needed, we wouldn't have had that struggle. We wouldn't have had to learn a lesson in life to like get stronger or persevere, or go through that terrible trauma to get to where we are today. And it's because that person wasn't available or didn't do the things that we thought we needed them to do, we became who we are today. And so he was like, I want you guys to like call up those people and tell those people that like weren't there for you, that didn't show up for you, that made you have to go through all those terrible things, quote unquote, to become who you are today, and thank them for doing that to you to allow you to be who you are today. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Because like all the hell and back that we've all been through, had we had that picture perfect life where everything was worked for us and we didn't have that struggle, we wouldn't be where we are today. And like, if you look at a lot of people that are successful and that do so well, it's because they didn't have things handed down to them. They had to really work for it. So I just wanted to share that with people, because for me, it was really helpful. And like, my mother was one of those people that I was like, she's a good person, but I was like, why couldn't she have done A, B, C, D? Why doesn't she understand this? And I realized, had she understood all those things and done those things for me, I 100% wouldn't be the person that I am today. And it was like a huge like moment for me of realization that like, wow, like, yes, she wasn't there for me when I needed her to be there for me, but because she wasn't there for me, I got to learn so much things and become who I am today. And even when I like thanked her for not being there, she didn't really get it, because she just doesn't get emotions, and she just doesn't understand feelings, and she doesn't understand certain things. And she's like, she didn't understand what I was saying to her, which was fine, because like I understood it, and I was able to like realize that she really did the best she could do, and like release her of like all the things that I blamed her for. No, she was amazing for me, and like I am where I am today because of all that. So it's just another, I think, perspective to look at it, almost like when we judge people, to like how to not judge them, and how to like, along the lines of saying like, we get to be where we are today, we get to do these things, versus we have to. And I posted in the chat earlier, like, I have a friend who's been sick for a while, and she keeps trying to get back to where she was, to her life. And she said, one of her coaches said, what if that's not your life anymore? What if like your life is where you are today? And she's like, what if we recognize like where we think we want to be or what we want to do is not what we're meant to have, but to just like go stay in the present and go move from that. Anyways, Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but Alex, I love listening to your calls. This is
It
awesome.
makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome. Thanks.
though all all of it is amazing and it comes down to that forgiveness, but just be careful of the one attack that you left in your forgiveness, which is, well, she doesn't get feelings and she doesn't get this. Like, you've made an excuse, you've excused her of the things that she did by saying she doesn't have this or that, or just, there is a little still bit of attack that's in there, but because she does, every single person. Because now, see, as long as you create separation between I have feelings and I get it, and she doesn't have feelings and she doesn't get it, that's why I'm going to forgive you. You've created just a different form of the same attack.
How do
same-
you? Because I asked her, I said, why don't you ever cry? Like, my father died, my nephew cried, like, we've been through hard stuff. I said, I've never seen you cry in my life. Like, you never cry. Like, all the hell I've been through. She said, what is there to cry about? Like, something bad happened. It happened, and then you just have to move on. This is what she tells me. She said, so it happened, and now I just have to continue doing what I was doing and move on. I can't sit and wallow in the sorrow. And to me, I just thought that that's so interesting.
You don't need to. See, the whole thing is she's totally capable of crying, but it's not up to you when she does. Like, you still projecting that on there actually solidifies the fact that she's not going to cry. And the more you say she's not going to cry, the more she's just not going to cry around you, and you'll never see it.
No, she's never cried. She's 73 or 4 years old, and I asked her, did you cry like when your parents died? She said no. I'm like, have you ever cried in your life? She's
So
like, no.
just because physically outside you don't have tears does not mean that you're not crying every day inside. It's we have a judgment of what crying means, what crying looks like. Oh, you should definitely cry. We watch a sad movie. You got no tears in your eye. What do you got? No feelings. You got no heart. I mean, think about that. That's just like insanity from us. We're just projecting some shit. Like, oh, if you don't cry, then you have no feelings. If you got no feelings, you don't know how to love. We just made up a whole bunch of shit about somebody else. Right. But I bet you everybody's cried when they're a little baby. I bet you there was movies that she watched. She probably was crying, like, inside. Maybe you just haven't seen it. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean somebody's not capable.
Yeah.
See, the entire thing is you have to let this whole story go. You still have your mother in a prison. This is the character she is. She never cries. She's got no feelings. Blah, blah, blah. I forgive you because you're inferior to me.
That's a very interesting way to look at it.
I'm superior. See, the ego exempts you by saying you're superior. You got more feelings, you got more love, so you can forgive this person because they're not worth they're not at your level.
Well, she has a lot of love. She showered, like, when I read the 5 love languages, I realized her love language was gifts and, like, acts of service, because she does that, like, for everyone all the time. Like, she'll drop whatever she's doing if someone needs help. Yeah, if someone needs something, like, she's gonna run and, like, send it to them or order it for them, and they have it in the mail, like, or at their door. Like, that, when I learned that about, like, the love languages, I was like, okay, wow. But I hear what you're saying about the prison.
So focus on that. Focus on the ability to what are the representations of love? See, only love is real, and you want to be calling forth or calling your mind to love in every situation, in every relationship. Yeah, she's totally capable of love. The more that you see that she's got the feelings of love, and this, you'll create the evidence, and you'll create a situation with her in which you will see those feelings, in which you will witness love in that space.
I hope so.
Yeah. And then there was a question, like, what happens if you were physically abused? Remember, I said
that.
Your first and your final lesson in this world is that you are not your body. Your body could be attacked, but the mind cannot attack itself. So physically, it may look like attack, but if there is only one mind that's happening, it's not really attacking itself. It just may have a glitch in the thoughts. So if you have a thought of judgment, you are really attacking yourself. It's an attack that's happening. But because we think we are our bodies. And this is, when you get to this, that's why you want to elevate everything to the same exact thing, right? Like you don't make things different. And our bodies is the great teacher.
Can I share something on that
Yeah.
for iPhone? I don't know your name, iPhone, but what is your name?
Madison.
Madison. Hi, Madison. So I'll share you from a very personal experience. When I was 24, I was raped. I went to court. I put the guy in jail. It was in another country. They owe me a lot of money, and I spent a lot of money to like get money back from a criminal court case. They owe me money, but I don't have a bank account in that country. And then they're like, you could get a lot of money from a civil case. And then it was at a certain point after a few years of just back and forth and thousands of dollars spent where he owes me thousands of dollars. I said, he still has my energy. And as long as I still stay connected to this, and one day I woke up with the realization like, money is not worth it. I don't care. As long as I let him win and I give him that control, he's still winning every single day. And it was just like a huge realization that I had one day that I was like, I don't give a fuck what happened. That's in the past. I'm not letting him win another second of my life. I'm not letting him own another second of my life. And what he did is that's him. And now I own my life. I own my body. I own everything that I deserve. And I'm not giving him another second of my time. And it was amazing when I made that switch in my brain to realize that he can't keep winning every day. As long as we feel that pain or we give in to them or we feel like the victim, they're still winning. But the moment we step out of it and realize we are the survivor and we're not giving them anything anymore, we become that winner. And and every day I wake up and every time people have that, I give him nothing. He gets, part of me is almost I give him credit for making me become the person that I am. Because like I said, everything we have in life is all these traumas, they add up. But because I don't give him anything and I release that thousands of dollars that I could have potentially gotten. And there's still $20,000 on stake that if I have a bank account in that country, I'll get it, but I don't care. And if one day I get that money, great. And if I never get that money, I don't care because it's just money. And something I learned is never chase money, chase opportunities, chase love, chase things that will give to you. And the things that are meant for you will come back to you wholeheartedly so much more. So if that helps, that's just something I share with people all the time because that it literally gave me a new lease on life. The second I walked away from chasing it and trying to get more, I have gained so much powerful over myself. And something that gave me a lot of power as well, as crazy as this sound, is I started rock climbing and it gave me an insane amount of confidence in myself in a very weird way that I never expected it to. And so I tell people all the time, go rock climb. It sounds crazy, but it gave me this new respect for myself in a very backwards way. So hope that helps.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, and remember, there is no he's winning, I'm winning. There is only one winning. I'm gonna bring a friend that's also in our community for A Course in Miracles. She has an amazing story. So she was kidnapped and raped and all this stuff, and I'll let her tell the story, but the gist of it is really when she went back to the country, guess who she runs into? Right. She runs into this guy, and this guy for the past 8 years has dedicated his life to looking for her to ask for forgiveness. And then it happened. And it was so it's not, nobody's winning. It's always love is always winning. See, that act itself, even though it seems oh my God, at this time period, it was, terrible, but it ultimately brought forgiveness, as the ultimate expression of love, the experience that both sides got to release. See, she was holding oh yeah, I don't care anymore, but she left the country. She her whole life is actually still based around that story until she went back. And of course, in the whole country, she runs into this guy and they have this making of this piece. And it's like, now it's a story on both sides of love and forgiveness. And she remembered that at a time when it was happening, her watch had fell off her hands or her wrist, and she was trying to get her watch. She was still worried about her material possession when that was happening. And so there's just, I mean, that story was just so powerful. I'll bring her back on at some point. And she's like, everything that she speaks, it just exudes love because she has this true moment of forgiveness.
You talk about Diana? Diana?
Well, let's not throw names out
Oh,
unless
sorry.
they
I
want to
know.
be unless they want to come out and speak about it. But like that story was just, it impacted my life greatly. You know, it really had me change my thoughts about my own judgments and what I couldn't forgive and what I thought, you know, was my limit to what I could forgive. See the course we read earlier that we make God like us in our minds. Like it just happens. So that means we have to practice love and forgiveness so much so that we can actually see the truth of our Father, of our Creator. We serve people and we forgive so much so that we can see that, wow, yeah, we are worthy of being forgiven as well. The connection is always one. How you serve and see your brothers and sisters is how you believe God will see you. The level in which you're capable of forgiving is what you believe God's capable of forgiving is. Right? Otherwise, we'll say, well, this person's going to hell because I can't forgive this person. That means God can't possibly forgive this person either. Right? So yeah,
What happened? Now Alex is muted.
Alex, you got muted.
Alex, you're muted.
I muted
He
myself.
just wants.
So I'm gonna close this out with a lesson. And let's see what's in store for us. I'm just gonna, oh, like I flipped to this. It's always just so perfect. Lesson 336. Okay, so a lot has been talked about on this. Horses that are tortured their whole life forgive a human in 7 days. In 7 days, maybe it's in, you know, I feel like animals forgive right away. They just completely shake it off. They're like, oh, what happened? You know, yeah, my dogs have always taught me to be forgiving and loving. Love like a dog. That's how we should. That's what we should be doing. We can love like a dog.
Make t-shirts.
That is
Yeah,
great.
I mean, people can literally be beating their dog, torturing their dog, and their dog still comes back loving them. You know, like what? Okay.
Feel like, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Last
I was gonna
shot.
add something else about a dog. Like I swear, I love animals, but I hate dogs because they just get all over you and they shed and they lick you and everyone has dogs, so I'm always around them and I'm like in bed this morning and my friend's dog jumps in and I'm like, oh my God, like they literally are always teaching me something. But someone told me something once. They're like, a dog, like I let the dog out this morning and it's raining, thundering, and lightning here, but he had to go pee, right? And I said, like, something someone told me years ago was like, it's not the dog's fault that it's raining. Like they still need to go on their walk. And it's something that always stuck with me. Like essentially, like you need to, like, I don't know where it falls in, but like the same way, like you can't blame a dog. Like the dog, it's raining outside. It's not their fault. You still need to take them out. Like that's abuse if you don't. And so like, yeah, like you need to just love people, like even if shit happens.
Well, maybe it's abusive because the dog's just gonna, if you leave the dog in there, the dog's gonna pee and poop on the ground.
Right. So you
So-
have to take them out.
My dog
For
wouldn't
your
go out
own sake.
past sweat.
But for the dog also, like it's not fair.
Well,
to them.
the dog's gonna want to pee and it's gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna pee until I gotta pee, and then it's gonna pee. So
But like, are you
uh-huh.
locked up in a cage because it's raining outside, or you get the choice to go in or stay out? we make that choice. So they
Yeah,
essentially
I'm
should have
saying
the
in
choice.
general, the dog is like, listen, I want to go out and pee, but if you're not going to take me on a walk, I'm going to pee right here. I'll pee in my cage. I'll pee on myself. I'll pee,
Yeah.
so, and then, but you got to clean it up. So it's like, and then we're like, oh, it's for the dog. But most of it is really just for your own, your own stuff. Cause the dog's cool to, if you just, the dog is born, the dog is ready to pee on the ground the first day, but it's an inconvenience to you. And then we say, oh, it's for the dog. Oh, then it's torture for the dog. It's only torture if you go and torture the dog when the dog pees in the house or poops in the house. Okay.
Got it.
So everything is still for you. And we can share a story next week about dogs peeing in the house. I think we have a participant here who knows all about that. The losing of peace of dogs peeing in the house. And they're and roll all over it too. Yeah, they'll pee in the house and be like, oh yeah, and they'll roll right over it. Okay.
That's funny. Goldfish.
All right. So we talked about a lot, as we always do on these calls, just a great reminder. Nothing that I've said, nothing that was spoken in here is something that we don't already know. So in this moment, we could be like the goldfish and just let all of it go, knowing that what is us belongs to us already anyways. What is love already belongs. What is love is the only thing that is here. Cool. Great. Take away from that. So I'm going to read one final lesson and then let everybody off to their days to go spread your peace and be your light. Lesson 336. Forgiveness lets me know that minds are joined. Forgiveness is the means appointed for perception's ending. Knowledge is restored after perception first is changed, and then gives way entirely to what remains forever past its highest reaches. For sights and sounds at best can serve but to recall the memory that lies beyond them all. Forgiveness sweeps away distortions and opens the hidden altar to the truth. Its lilies shine into the mind and call it to return and look within, to find what it has vainly sought without. For here, and only here, is the peace of mind restored. For this, the dwelling place of God himself. In quiet, may forgiveness wipe away my dreams of separation and of sin. Then let me, Father, look within and find your promise of my sinlessness is kept. Your word remains unchanged within my mind. Your love is still abiding in my heart. Forgiveness lets me know that minds are joined. So thank you. Amen. Aho. See you guys on Sunday. I'll be in Belize and this will still be going on. Cool. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for joining this morning and
Thank you.
see you guys Sunday.
Thank you very much.